Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is the fun time to talk about editing, publishing, marketing, and all that fun stuff that all the writers out there are learning. Thank you for joining us. My name is Joellen. I'm with firstediting.com, and today I have with me Alexa Bigwolf from Write, Publish, Sell. And we are here to talk about proofreading and publishing and marketing and all that fun stuff. This is the fourth of four series, and yes, we will send you those links in the follow-up today so you can go back in and find those. And it's great. So as everyone checks in, please go ahead and say hello. Let us know where you're coming to us from and how we can help you out. If you have any questions during today's presentation, please feel free to just pop them in. We're pretty laid back and pretty relaxed, so we like to just let everyone bump around and come in, and that's very good. And meanwhile, say hello, let us know where you're hopping in, and I will introduce Alexa. Alexa comes to us from Write, Publish, Sell, and she is an author, a publisher, a consultant, a community leader, and an authority in all these fantastic things out there. She runs a fantastic online seminar summit, I guess it is, the Women in Publishing Summit, which I've been part of, and First Editing is very proud to be a sponsor of. So if you're not familiar with that, I encourage you to watch for next year, 2024, when it comes around again. And she also has some excellent courses and different things like that. And so she really is an authority out there. And we are always looking as editors, professional editors, for extra people and experts that we trust, that we know, and that we can refer you to along the way. So Alexa, welcome back.
Thank you so much. This has been such a fun series. I'm enjoying it.
It is. It's very nice. So we made a big commitment right in the middle of your publishing summit to do 4 parts and discuss this. And after we did it, she was like, "What have I done?"
We gotta spread this out. We gotta slow, like your book marketing. We gotta slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, we really took it hard and fast. And that's just me, a little ADHD going, yeah, let's just do it all today. And okay, so we're doing this live. Everyone who's joining us today, please make sure you follow and like the YouTube community of First Editing so that you can learn about more of these upcoming events as we have them. You'll receive the follow-up. We do have a replay of what we're going to talk about today, and we'll also send you the information on the other 3. So again, come in. I just want to say hello to the people as I'm sure you can see them signing in here too. Let me look down. I've got Maureen from Illinois, Paracozy writer. We have get the tongue working. So we have Carol from Pennsylvania. Welcome. Historical fiction poetry. We have George from Mesa, Arizona, Jay from Cleveland, University Circle, Palm Desert, California, John, Janine from New Zealand. Good on ya. That's a long ways to come. Kay from Seattle. We'll be sending you the link to the other 3, so no worries there. Aloha from the big island of Hawaii. Thank you, aloha. We have John from Iowa City and UNESCO City of Literature. Wow, hold on to that title. That's really great. We have Anna, who's coming to us from Albuquerque, Noel from the UK, Next Chapter Editing, Teresa from Asheville. Love Asheville. Beautiful space there in North Carolina. Ori from Carson City, Nevada, and Marie from North Devon in the UK. Great. Paul from Kingston, Ontario. We're going to keep going. Going to go on in Nashville. I'm sorry, guys. Will from Nashville, Lee from Cambridge, Jenny from Los Angeles. Wow. It keeps flooding in more. And there's a bit of a delay here. So James from Nashville, Vicky, Norfolk, Ohio. This gives us, okay, everyone, New York City, California, Texas, New Hampshire, South Carolina, blah, blah, blah. Thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your day and being with us. We will do our best to give you really solid information that you can put to work and to use for you that is of value immediately. So we do appreciate you being here. And if you have any comments or remarks, please feel free to email me at the end of this and I will respond personally. So Alexa, this is the 4th one.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. So today we're going to talk about getting the insights to what they need to complete in advance. So what they need to do before they're coming onto you for the book distribution when they're wrapping up the marketing that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We've got what you can do to get the best return on your investment, because as we know, editing is not cheap. Wish I could say it was. It's just not. Marketing is an investment also, and it's definitely an education on both ends. So all the help you can get, all that publishing and marketing. We're going to take away how you can put these while you're doing your revisions. So the final proofreading process, and that's where I'm talking. And of course, Alexa is talking to you from the marketing and the publishing site. And then this is all the advice we'll try to share. So ask your questions as we go. So what we want to do is start. I thought it was fun when we've gone through. I guess we can talk a little back and catch them up. We've gone through your content editing or your developmental edit. You've possibly done your line and copy editing. You are preparing all of your marketing. I'll let Alexa talk about that. And now you've put it into you uploaded it, and now you have it formatted and you're uploading it. So after this is when you're going to look at proofreading. So it's very important that you make sure you have this done and you take it personally. We're going to talk about the date. So I wanted to talk about galley copy because you and I had been chatting, and I wanted to discuss what was the value of having a galley copy for the readers and for reviews and gathering the reviews from the reviewers, etc.
Okay, so first let's talk about what a galley copy is in case you've never heard that term. A lot of people will call it an ARC copy, an advanced reader copy, your uncorrected proof. There's a lot of different ways that people talk about it. A galley copy traditionally is more of a print version of your book that you get out to people, whereas an ARC can be a PDF or proof or any of those things. Anyway, call it what you want. It's an almost final version of your book that's been, as Joellen just said, edited. You've gone through all the process of editing except for proofreading, and it's been formatted. So at this point in time, you most definitely need to order yourself at least a print proof of your book for your final proofread, because once it's been formatted, once it's even in a book, things just look different sometimes than they do in a PDF. And it's really important to take the time to do a read through, and even better if your proofreader is on board with reading through a print copy. Some of them only want to do the PDF. Right. All of those things. We'll talk more about that when we get into the specific on the proofreading. But why is this piece of the puzzle important? And more importantly, how much time do you need in there? So we talk a lot about the different launch timelines in my community and whether or not you need a large amount of time for marketing and growth, or whether you're doing a passion project or a rapid release or something that will get it out there faster. So for the context of this, I'm talking about a timeline for someone who is really trying to establish themselves as an author, really try to create that foundation with their book, and really wants to see the best results at launch. The best way to see best results at launch, and a big launch, is growth of readers in the time prior to your launch. And that means getting the book into hands of readers at no charge, which upsets people. And we get into the getting your return on investment and all that kind of stuff. You just need to build this factor in, that you need to have copies of your book to give to readers so that they can help you leverage your launch by reading it and reviewing it. And there are all kinds of places you can put the digital copy to help you do that. But getting the physical book, the galley copy, into the hands of readers in advance, whether that's 5 people, 10 people, 15, whatever it is, it's really crucial for having readers who have a close to final book. You want to make sure they know it's a galley or an advanced reader copy. Put uncorrected proof, something on there so that you don't get killed, for having some final proofreading mistakes. But you're gonna get this into the hands of people so that they can start reading it and leaving reviews on Goodreads or other places, social media, blogs, post about it, using it to send to media if you're doing a media campaign, all those types of things. If you've ever been to a large professional book industry event, whether that's something like Book Expo America, which no longer exists. But that's the type of event that I'm talking about, where it is a massive feature of what's coming up, what's happening, what's going on. And they do this at bookseller events all over the country, at big events all the time still. You'll see that publishers are handing out thousands of copies of the book in
Yeah.
print. You can't see it because it's in the corner over there of my office, but I have an entire bookshelf that is nothing but galley copies that I've picked up at events. And I need to do my due diligence and do what was, your promise basically is that you're going to take that book to read it and review it. So I've been slowly going through the list and reading them and reviewing them. But this is a way to get your book into the hands of new readers, of audiences that are dedicated to reading and loving those books and helping you get your book launched.
Right. And people love to have these arcs. I mean, it is actually a collector's item to some people. So it's kind of fun to get these and to be able to go through them. But yeah, definitely, it is important to take a look at that, because as Alexa mentioned, when you upload, when you put that document, and somebody just asked here, please advise the best stage of editing to have it formatted. The editing is actually finished, the formal editing. You've gone through your developmental edit, you've gone through any content, line and copy editing, all those editing. When you've done that, a copy edit is the final edit when you have no plans for revisions, and you're going to go ahead, and then after that you format it. And once you formatted it, then you're having what's called the proofread, the proof. And there's a lot of different formatting things that can happen. It can be visuals, it can be your scene breaks, it could be just it could be a word or an entire paragraph that just disappears. I mean, we just never know. It's like sometimes there's little monsters in there just eating holes into your book, and you really have to take that final look, because anything and everything can happen. And so that this is a great time to physically open it, not only as a reader, not only as the author, but if you can get a proofreader who can take it physically, this is ideal. Of course, they're going to make the changes uh in the electronic format, because that's where it has to be. You can't just mark on the book, but to see it is much easier to understand what has happened. What does it really look like? What does it feel like? And it's also a very exciting time for the author. So and the other thing is, quite often the galley says, this is not the final version. This is, this is not the final version. They still own the intellectual property, it's the copyright, all that still sits, but it's not the final version. So they're kind of saying, if you find something wrong, I want to know. Please tell me so I don't embarrass myself.
Yeah,
So it's
for
very
sure.
cool.
And the
Wow.
reason you want to wait until it's been fully edited, and to be honest with you, you may want to have a proofread before formatting and a proofread after formatting, if you can budget that in, because sometimes your copy editor may have missed things, or things may have shifted around when you're doing those revisions and going back and forth. But you definitely do not want to have your book formatted before you and your editor feel like it is pretty much good to go. You may catch a typo here and there. You may catch a weirdly worded phrase or something like that that you have to go back and change to. But formatting is a very technical process, and good formatters are using a special tools like InDesign or things like that that are not easy to go back and make massive changes to. It's very time consuming. Now you can go in and you can make edit small changes that aren't going to impact the rest of the book, go in and correct typos, all of that kind of stuff. But if you wind up having, and we've had this in the past, where we brought in a new proofreader who was like, oh, this needs a lot of work left, like this, and that happens sometimes. People miss things. Your editor can only do so much based on where the manuscript was when you got it to them in the first place. And we've had to basically start over with the project, which is painful and expensive.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's just so much easier to have in your mindset, when you're done with the revisions, that's when you ideally want somebody to look at it and see what's going on there. I'm getting some weird sounds. Do I sound okay to you?
Yeah, I don't hear anything
Okay,
weird.
great. Then we'll just go forward. But yeah, so definitely have that done. So the editor is going through all of that, and when they do that final copy edit, it should be good to go. but of course we're humans. And even if you're using tools, there's lots of fantastic tools out there to do copy editing to help you complete that, like ProWriting Aid, Grammarly, and the rest. You know, it's still not 100%. You still wanna have a human look
Yeah.
at it to make sure it reads like a human. And there's a lot of tools out there now. You really wanna make sure it works correctly. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So our second question I thought we'd talk about today is why you wanna use a different proofreader than your editor. Quite often, proofreading is considered part of the editing, and that's fine. The words are used interchangeably quite often, but they're technically different. The editors are doing all the voice, the continuity, the details, the overall flow of your writing, the artistic parts, and that. And when you get down to the final copy edit, they're still looking at the style and different things that are not strict. Whereas the proofreader it's doing a final copy edit again to make sure that nothing was missed, which is always super duper important. I mean, I don't know how many times I've read bestsellers and I still find errors, but they're also looking at the formatting. Are the page breaks, are the scene breaks, does the if you have any types of extra, uh, graphics in there or media that's included, is it displaying correctly in both the physical book that's being printed and also in uh the electronic book, because it does change. And even if you've done a really good job and you think, well, it's just electronic, it can still display wrong. It can still be a mess. So please, please, please make sure that you have a proofreader. And why do you want to use a different proofreader than your editor? Because editors can do proofreading, is because just like you, they've read it enough now. They know the story, they know the outline, they know what's going on, and they will let their brain just go into the flow without picking out the individual. So it's good to have fresh eyes. So switch at some point there so that they might see a comma or anything else that's just a little off, and they'll catch it and fix it and know why it's being done that way. So we're back to the galley copy or the advanced reader's copy. And we talked about what it is, uncorrected proof. So that was what I wanted to mention, was all the different names. I mean, I was thinking, what is it called? It's called galley and arc. Wasn't there a third or fourth name?
I mean, you can call it an uncorrected proof, but mostly people know, most in the indie world, most people are very familiar with the term ARC copy, which is a little bit redundant because it's advanced reader copy when you say ARC copy, but or the arc of my book or whatever. But
So when we're doing that, what do you recommend for the books that you're publishing? What do you recommend to your authors? How many do you normally print out? Because I was reading, some on a very large bestseller that they know can be hundreds to even 1,000 ARC copies. But then the smaller first time indie author, how many? Is it limited by budget? Is it limited by the perceived success of what it's going to do? How do you recommend that?
so I think it really depends on a couple of factors. Budget is the driving factor for most indie authors on how many books they're going to do in a print version. By genre, children's books, I think, are the most important for you to spend some extra money. Now, you can do the paperback version instead of the hardcover version to make that a little bit less. But with our authors, we aim for anywhere between 20 to 100 books, depending on the size of the launch, depending on a lot of factors, depending on what the topic of the book is, because some books have a larger amount of influencers out there who want to receive that book and talk about it and all that kind of stuff. But generally, on average, ours is 30 to 40 print copies of the book. We're increasing that actually because we've seen I've talked to other publishers who give away a ton of books and giveaways and other things like that in their pre-marketing activities to really create that buzz. And it makes a big difference. Now your book is in the hands of a lot more people who are talking about your book. And when they talk about it, imagine if that one person, 5 people in their audience know, just as a small number, and you're 5 timesing the number of people who now know about that book. Um,
Exactly.
for fiction and nonfiction, like your standard books, like we've all gotten very used to the digital world. We all understand how to get a book from BookFunnel, or people know how to download a book or read a PDF or get all those types of things. So you can do less print copies and more ebook copies so that you save the money. But I still encourage you to look to consider between 10 to 20 print copies for the most influential people who may read and talk about your book. Now, if you're nonfiction, that might be the host of a TV show that you're going on that you want to have a copy for. That might be like if you're in the entrepreneur world, that might be somebody who's a very well-known person who might post on the, whatever it is. If you're in the fiction world, it might be some book talkers or some bookstagrammers or some other people who have grown audiences around and can physically show your book, can do the little videos of them flipping through the book, showing the cover, taking it out of the package when you send them. They do all kinds of fantastic stuff like that you just can't get that same feel from an ebook. And it allows for more creativity on their part. It allows for people to see the book, and also I think people who receive physical copies are more inclined to actually read the book and review it. That's not always the case, but yeah. So I would say your budget is going to depend that. And when I encourage authors to budget for at least 10 to 20 print copies of the book. And if you can do more, great. Some of our authors have done fun influencer boxes where they get their 20 people and they put together a little box of the book and some other fun swag, some goodies, some stickers, some postcards, some candles, whatever it is that's appropriate with your book. And those are really fun for them too. So there's a lot of different approaches to it. And if you absolutely cannot afford to do more than 5 books, pick those 5 people closely, carefully, and then use your PDF to get out into the other hands of advanced readers.
Right. I think that's great. I mean, I'm always interested, share as much as you can in terms of how you really get that drive there, because it is a lot of networking. It's a lot of who you know and how you work that. But how do you actually, get the person to finish the book and write it, the review in time? I mean, what's the timeline there to get these people, or reviews and or beta readers? They have different purposes, but still you can get quite a bit of feedback that you need, either for errors and or for, wow, I really love this storyline and where it's going, and I love this character. How do you force them to do it?
Well, you can't force anybody to do anything. That's the thing. And it's very frustrating when you've given away your book to a lot of people and they don't take the action that you expect. There's a lot of ways to go about this. I'll talk about a couple, but I also want to just say, look up Write, Publish, Sell on YouTube. That's WRITE, Publish, Sell on YouTube. We just did a webinar yesterday. So it's the first top video that you'll find there. It's called Smash Your Book Launch. And I talked for an hour and 45 minutes on this whole topic. So
Excellent.
Go over there and get that. But I will say this, there's a couple of factors that go into that, and the timeline for it. If you're going to be doing a full advanced reader campaign, you can go to some tools and sites that allow you to upload a PDF in advance, and their whole job is to loop into people that want free copies of the book in advance to leave reviews. Those are usually the most successful endeavors because people come into it knowing this is what I've agreed to do through this platform. If I read books, I'm going to leave a review. But you can also build your own advanced reader team through giving it away through your website opt-in or through BookFunnel or for other tools like that. And of course, then finding the influencers that you're going to give the print copy books to. You can either take the time, do all that research your own, which is very time consuming, or you can hire companies who do this. We have a company that we use based out of the UK. We use them for almost all of our launches. They are fabulous. They're called Love Book Tours, and they do Instagram tours and blog tours. And so they go out and do the work of finding the people who want to review your book. You get to choose whether you want to give them 7 print copies or 12 print copies or whatever it is, and however many ebook copies. They find the people, they do all that back work, and then they get the book to them, and they have a date scheduled. And if those people don't do the reviews and post on their dates, they don't get to participate in upcoming tours. So they're very committed to doing that. But ideally, the question was timeline. Ideally, you need at least 3 months from the time you have that ARC copy to get it in the hands of people. You should be looking for the people that you're going to get into the hands of before that. So it's not just 3 months out, I'm going to start the work. It's from 3 months, I'm going to get my advanced reader copy out into the world. That gives people time to read the book. That gives you the time to follow up with them through your email sequence and to do the work. You have to nurture these folks. You have to remind them. You have to say, here's what's happening, keep them informed. Here's when the launch day is, all of those types of things. So it's a process, and it's work, but it's worth it if you do a successful campaign through one of these types of tools.
Yeah, I think it's really great. I did throw up your link there because we shared this last time, and they can of course go over to your YouTube and see the smash. But I wanted to mention that the book launch, the free book publishing launch planning checklist, or you can just find it at writepublishsell.com. You scroll down, there's a button, just click on it. So it's not so complicated, but it's very interesting. I mean, even as an editor, of course, we specialize in just preparing, especially indie authors, for finding the agent or self-publishing or going with a hybrid or whatever method they're going to follow, so that they can confidently know that they've gotten the professional services that they would have received, say, in an in-house publisher. The difference being that an in-house publisher or an in-house editor, a publishing house with an in-house editor will be looking towards their specific audience. So that's the difference. But you do need to know your audience as you're doing this, and you really need to focus on that. So it's always nice to see the whole process of what happens after the editing and the time that it really requires. And I think more time is probably better than less in that sense. And the more, I think, the higher view you can have, it's just like editing. The more you understand the whole process, the better prepared you are to complete each of those steps. And it also gives you a sense of safety of, okay, I know I'm on a long journey, but I just have to focus on this next one. And I'm aware that this is coming up. And if I do that as we go, such as creating your audience, it's really to your benefit. So the last thing I put on here, just as an idea, and maybe you want to throw out a couple ideas, and any questions, we're welcome to have them. We don't want to keep you all day here. Is, we talk about ARC readers, and we also have beta readers, and those are a little different. I've had people confuse them because, beta readers are giving more of an impact and back. But can you, from your perspective, talk about how you enlist them and how you use them?
Yeah, there's a massive difference between beta readers and ARC readers. They perform a completely different function for you. Your beta readers should be a very small group of people who are ultimately brought in very early in the process, maybe after developmental editing, because you don't want to give them a big pile of poo. Excuse the expression, but often, at least that's what my book looked like before it went to developmental editing. It was like, help, let's get this to where it needs to be, right? So you want to have it revised a bit, the concepts, they're developmentally edited, and then you enlist your beta readers, who can be a variety of things. They can be either other authors, they can be readers in your genre that are really good at helping move, provide feedback on a story. We all have that friend who should have been an editor. My friend Sheila is that. Every time she sees anything spelled grammatically wrong, anything, she's sure to shame that person on Facebook. Maybe not that person, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. So if you're doing a nonfiction book, it could be someone in your target audience, maybe someone who wants to learn how to do yoga, and you're teaching a book about how to learn yoga, things like that. You want to keep this group of people fairly small, because getting too much feedback from too many people will be incredibly overwhelming, and you don't know what to do with all of that. But they, in a way, work as mini editors that you're not paying. So sometimes you can pay a beta reader, but I would resort to that as a last resort. There's plenty of people who beta read in your community that you can reach out to. Their goal is going to be based on what your goal is that you need for feedback. So in a fiction book, it's often going to be Does the timeline jive? Are you bored to tears with anything? Is there a paragraph that shouldn't be there? Is it descriptive enough? Am I showing, not telling? Those types of things that will help you, give them some ideas of the type of feedback you want. Some of them will go gung-ho, some of them won't provide much feedback. It's just going to depend on who they are. But their real role is to help you move that manuscript from first revision or maybe second revision from wherever you are to a draft that's good enough to send to copy editing, where the expert in grammar and structure can come in and you're not dealing with all these other issues. Because the last thing a copy editor wants to deal with is trying to clean up a whole bunch of stuff before they can actually get started. So beta reader, then I would suggest, so developmental editing for fiction books. Not all nonfiction books need developmental editors. Some do, some don't. That's a question you should ask an editor. Then into probably your self revisions and your tools like Pro Writing Aid, like Grammarly, like things like that. Then to beta readers, and then to your copy editor is the process that I would advise to follow. ARC readers, these are marketing tools. They are not editors. Now they may find some proofing errors, and that's okay. That's great. Actually, you would much rather have ARC readers provide that feedback than somebody who's bought your book and is angry. So their job is to read the book before launch, to provide their feedback about the book, to give you insight into any issues that they come up with. I mean, we've had everything on ARC readers tell us that there were too many copy edits that still needed to be done. We've had people say there was a problem with, sometimes they will come back with bigger issues. And you have to look at that and decide, did they just not get this? Or, is this a problem we need to address? Which is another reason why that 3-month window is critical, 3 to 6 month window. So as you get this feedback from people, you still have time to act on it. We had one for a children's book. We had an ARC reader who came back and said, this font is cute, but because it's dashed, I'm having a really hard time reading it. That's critical feedback that comes in at that last moment, that we were able to change the font before we finalized it. Now, we wouldn't be able to do that in a 3-month window with our children's books because we go to print. So hopefully but with an indie self-published book, print on demand, you usually have time to fix those types of things. But yes, your ARC reader's primary purpose is to read your book, provide feedback from a big picture level, not a nitpicky level, and unless they find little mistakes, and then to review it and to post it out there into the world, to create buzz, to share about your book, to leave reviews when it launches, those types of things. So they're very, very different. Where your beta readers, you have maybe 3 or 4, 5 probably at the most people, because man, it can be overwhelming to incorporate too many people's feedback. And then ARC readers, there is no limit to how many ARC readers you want to use. Now, one little tip on that though, try not to use your warm audience. And what I mean by a warm audience is people who are already on your email list, people who have already expressed an interest to buy your book. Try not to use those folks necessarily as ARC readers, because they are the people that are almost guaranteed to buy your book. You want to look for new readers who do this, who provide that. And you can use tools like Book Sirens, like NetGalley, like other places like that will find you ARC readers specifically. And then you can sell your book to your warm audience of your friends, family, people who have been joining your email list, people who have expressed an interest. And that doesn't mean you can't, this is a long-winded thing here. That doesn't mean you can't pull people from your email list to be part of your ARC team. But I would not advise you to give your book away for free to everyone in your audience. We've tried that a few times, and we get lots of reviews. That's great. Reviews are wonderful. That's a good exchange. But you don't see the sales if you gave everybody you already knew to market your book to a free copy of it. Sometimes they'll buy a book, sometimes they won't. So,
no, I mean, why buy it if you've already got it? So that's a very good point. And I think it's super important that people kind of come forward with what they need there. I have a question here, and there's any other questions, please bring them through. Did you have any other points you wanted to cover today?
Sorry. Yeah. We've just had the walls sanded because I had to have all my pipes pulled out and holes in the walls, and they drywalled them and sanded today, and it's dusty. So
Oh,
sorry. Um,
no, it's fine.
life happens, right? No,
Mhm.
I mean, I think the biggest thing, we've been really talking through the whole process of, and if you go back, Joellen's going to provide the first few in this series to anyone who just
Yeah.
got in on this fourth one. But we've
Yep.
really been covering the ground from determining what route to publishing you're even going to take, and how whether you go self, indie, or hybrid is going to determine a lot of your timeline. We've talked
Mhm.
about what you can be doing while your book is in editing to start marketing your book. We've talked about this last phase here. And the real thing to take away is that it's not something that this is what you should not do. You should not just sit down, write a first draft of a book, get a copy edit, and publish it.
No.
That leads to disaster. You
Yes.
should plan your book, plan your marketing while you're thinking through your book, thinking about your target reader, and start thinking about the things that you can do along the way. Do as many rounds of editing as you can afford. And I think this is one of those places where it's kind of like tough love, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not inexpensive to publish a book, and it can't be done for free.
No.
That's not fair. It can be done for free. The results are usually not wonderful. So you need to be thinking about, as you're going through the process, like, what budget do I have? Are there ways that I can raise money for this? Can I, if budget is truly a problem, can I do a crowdfunding? Can I do something else? Can I start, knowing that this is going to be a long process and I have to invest in it? Can I start squirreling away $50 a paycheck or something like that, where you're putting it in there, thinking about those types of things, and then making sure that you have the budget to do the things that need to be paid for done really, really well. There's a lot of marketing that can be done without spending any money, but it takes long-term strategy and approach and other ways to do that. It's going to be largely your time invested. So again, if that's not an option, then it's but just going into it knowing and understanding that this is a product that you are selling, is the first key to understand that with any product and with anything that you're selling, it needs to be done professionally, it needs to be done well, and it needs to be marketed. And if it's not a product that you want to invest all this time in, there's a great place for you, and that's called the passion project. And the passion project, you can throw out everything we say and just do what you want and not spend any money and get it out there, and you've published your book, and that's okay. And it's, I like to just be very clear about things like this, because it's super frustrating when you hear messages like, oh, you can just self-publish your book and you don't have to do this, and you can just run it through a tool, and you can do it all by yourself, and you don't have to pay for anything, and you should never pay for publishing. And that's a really unfair statement for people to be putting out in the world for us, because it doesn't lead to success.
Quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my soapbox. You got your soapbox, now I got mine.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's important. I think that eh, everybody has a different reason for writing a book, and it's always important to know exactly why you're writing your book. Any author, fiction, nonfiction, whichever it may be. What is the point of this book? What do I desire from it? Is it to be a bestseller? Is it to make money? Is it to
Mhm.
fulfill my bucket list? Is it a passion project? What is it? Is it something that my children will inherit, and it's a memoir so they remember me forever? Whatever it may be, there
Yeah.
are a thousand different reasons, and your reason is valid. So
Yes.
now everything you do from that point, from the moment you sit down to start typing, should be based around that goal. So, if it's a bestseller, then this is way, way, way more important, launching and publishing and editing and all of that, and making sure that you reach out with a query letter, and all, whatever way you're going. That's a very long and a very admirable process. Now, when people say, oh, you shouldn't pay for anything, well, maybe if you just want to see your name on the Amazon page, then that's fine. And you say you've written a book. I mean, that is possible, but I don't know who's going to buy it. And if they buy it, I really hope I really hope that you are a very strong, skilled writer and storyteller, because those are difficult. And the best of the best authors, everyone always say, edit, edit, edit. You don't see Stephen King or J.K. Rowling or anybody else saying, you don't have to pay for it. Just go, skip. You can be just like me. And those names and those stories are very rare. So, okay, I'm going to turn to some of these questions so we can kind of talk about them quickly before we go. Speaking of memoirs, I have had a memoir manuscript line professionally edited, but made some changes. Here, I can show this here. Made some changes based on my editor's recommendation. Is developmental editing the next stage? Where do I go from here? I think that when you're determining the level of editing, it seems that you started in there for line editing, and that may have been recommended due to readability, writing skills, whatever your challenges may be. I don't know. But if you send your document to an editor such as us, we will offer you a free sample and we will give you a recommendation on what you need. Now, you can choose anything higher. If you say, we say, oh, you're ready for a copy edit, it's good to go. But you say, no, I want to do a developmental edit. A developmental edit is the artistic evaluation of the entire storyline. It's looking at your characters, it's looking at your story arc, it's looking at your scenes and your divisions and the writing, the word counts, the balance, everything that goes into it. It answers the question of, is it any good? That's developmental editing. Is it any good? Do you like it? Which is what everybody wants to know. Then, of course, you can go ahead with developmental editing. Do you need to? I don't know. Then let the editor take a personal look at it, and they'll tell you what you need, and you need to take that as a bare minimum or higher. So based upon what you want. So that would be where do you go from there? Get a sample. Send it to us at firstediting.com. We'll get it back to you in 24 hours with a sample. Okay, sorry, let's go to the next one. Sorry, this may be in another webinar, but when do you copyright, get your ISBN, etc., and download?
Yeah, most of that stuff should be on the checklist. But ISBN, you'll want to give that fairly early on in the process. Copyright, once you've got a final edited manuscript, you can load it to the copyright and go ahead and do that prior to publication. And in best case scenario, prior to giving out a copy of your ARC to anyone. And yeah, I think Joellen's going to drop the launch list link there.
Yes, I can. It is basically, again, writepublishsell.com. And we have the free book publishing launch planning checklist also, if you want to add that. Or you can just go to writepublishsell.com and you will find it there on the front page, on the landing page. So let's see here. Going to the next one. What exactly does launch day mean for a self-published author? That's a nice question.
That is a great question. That means the day your book goes live on sales channels. So whatever day it's available for people to purchase on Amazon or on Barnes & Noble or wherever, that's your publication date or what we call your launch date. Now, some people like to do other kinds of launches where their book is available online for sale, but they don't do their marketing till later on, or I don't necessarily subscribe to that method, but you can, and there's a variety of reasons why you would. This is going to be based on your own marketing strategy and what you're doing. Some people will publish their book, and now this is not a bad strategy. They'll publish it a week or two ahead of their big push, their big launch day marketing efforts. So launch day can also be your big push on marketing efforts. And they'll do that so that they can send their ARC team over from the time the book is live to start leaving reviews and things like that. So when you're marketing to your audience, the book already has reviews. It's already there. There's a variety of strategies that go into how, when, why, where, what. But overall, a launch day, generally speaking, is going to be the day that you are sending traffic, the day you have decided this is the day I want everyone to go buy my book, that I'm telling the world that my book is out there.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand this question. So Lucy, you're going to have to come back to us. Marketing addresses in Germany and England are most often not recognized by my computer. I double check bookstore web pages. Is this a common problem? I'm not sure I understand that question, so we'll come back to that if you can give us a little more. Oh, they have to go. Sorry. All right. Is it a good value to pay a hybrid publisher to perform a good share of the marketing effort?
Well, if you pay a hybrid publisher just to do marketing, you're probably going to be pretty disappointed because most book it depends. It depends on where you go. I say that, but my Purple Butterfly Press children's book hybrid company does a ton of marketing. So it's going to depend on what your contract says, what they say to you in the quote that they will be handling. But a hybrid publisher, generally speaking, is going to be there to be your publisher, your partner publisher, to make sure that your book is fully ready to go to production, that it's done properly, that it's positioned properly, that it's set up, that you have a manuscript that isn't a mess before it goes out there, that gives an ARC copy, that loads it to all the sites and acts as a most hybrid publishers act as any other kind of publisher. The difference is there's a fee for partnership because a lot of times it will be authors that have no name recognition, that are brand new to publishing, that have a specific type of book that they're trying to get out there. And the investment in bringing somebody up to speed so that the book can be distributed in a wide, it's just so much that these publishers partner with you by you paying a fee essentially. And because of that, you get a higher royalty share on the other end of it. So the marketing efforts by a hybrid press are going to vary greatly. I know some hybrid presses that basically they don't do marketing at all. They may offer like a growth program for you, if you will, like where they're teaching you how to market, where they're giving you some tools and skills. They may do something like make sure your book is put in some flyers or some e-blasts or is positioned. But part of the marketing of a hybrid publisher is the positioning of the book, making sure it's showing up in the right places, making sure librarians and retailers know about it, some of those things. But it won't be the day-to-day, like if you're looking for somebody to book PR stuff for you or run Facebook ads or those types of things. Largely, most publishers are not going to be doing those types of things. But the beauty of hybrid publishers is that they will provide you some type of a price sheet that tells you what's covered in your package. And if they offer marketing services, those will be generally a la carte that you can add on. If you want publicity services, if you want this, you can add those things on, or you can go off and find those on your own. So really, a hybrid publisher is to act as your publisher and to position to produce your book just like a traditional publisher would. And then marketing is going to be hit or miss depending on which company you're working with.
Exactly. And I mean, there's just so much to choose from. But I think the biggest thing is to sit down with whatever professional you're working with, be it an editor, be it a publisher, marketing, launching, web designer, book cover designer, whatever it may be, and get you don't need to know it all, but you do need to know that they do. That they have a very firm background, that they can show you their successes, they can share with you other people who have done well using their services, and then allow them to give you their professional recommendations based upon your unique status. And again, back to your goal. What is your goal? Do you need to invest a lot of marketing if it's just a book that you wrote for your kids? No. But if you really, if it's a nonfiction book and you want to use it for status, that's one thing. But if you want to be a bestseller in terms of and make money as an authorpreneur, then you really need to have a lot of time and energy and budget for this process so that you can achieve that goal. And it may take a couple of different uh, ways to do this. There's not just one direct shot. But I can say you don't get a lot. You get you you only get a couple of good chances, and if you're lucky. So, all right, let's see here. Quick question: do you need to establish your book price before your ISBN?
So all of your metadata can be updated at any point in time. I believe we have a public YouTube tutorial on getting your ISBN and setting it up. That might be internal to our clients. But anyway, you basically are going to go into myidentifiers.com or Bowker. You're going to purchase your ISBNs. You can assign an ISBN and you're going to save it before if you don't have all the rest of the data on there. And then when you're ready to submit all that information so that it's been submitted to the system, so it's out there in the world, so that all the metadata is associated, then you'll go back in, make sure everything's added, and hit finalize and submit.
Mhm. Okay, so we have here, it's becoming common for self-published authors to release a series of books in rapid succession. Would you recommend working with editors on all books in the series as one big project? If you have the ability to do that, yes. What you're going to find is that when you're doing a book and you're doing the editing, you're going to be using the same characters, perhaps the same world, and you're going to create this whole background for them. And that's ideal because even if you don't intend to have a series at the beginning, you may come back at another time, especially if this particular book is popular. So having not only the story arc for that individual book within the series, each one has to have their own, beginning, middle, end, and the conflict and the resolution of those things happening. You can also have the overall series story arc. And that is ideal to have the same editor because they can help you maintain the voice and the characters and the details that are necessary on that. So yes, I would recommend that. Do you have to do it all at the same time? Not necessarily, because that can be a huge investment. We've had a couple of those come in recently here, and you're looking at, we had one just today, I think it was 600,000 words. I was like, wow, what is this? So, these are really mammoth endeavors, but definitely working with the same editor. Not only is it ideal for the continuity, but it also, it is a relationship. You really got to trust this person because there will be times when they're going to make recommendations that you may say no, but if you listen to your gut, you'll understand why, and they'll have it in your best interest. And it's very good to have somebody that you can respect their opinion and then make decisions based on that. So I think it's definitely the long term. Get somebody you like, you trust, and that has successful background that can help you achieve that, and who's worked with similar genres and authors in your particular vertical there. Sorry. So. Da, 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 da. Okay, so back to Lucy. She's trying to announcements to Germany and England. It's a German children's book. She wants to market her book there. Second information here is that the emails did not send, addresses did not recognize. Is there a list of bookstore addresses in Europe? When you're talking about Amazon, I do want to mention there are other distributors who distribute in Europe, and Kobo has a big standing there. I mean, maybe you want to talk a little bit more about that. It's not in my specific.
Yeah, this is not a simple or easy question to answer, and I'd have to know a lot more information to dig into it. The short answer is I would be highly surprised if you're going to find a compiled list of all bookstores in Germany and England. Someone may have that. I don't know who that would be, and you may have to pay for something like that. If your goal is truly to have the book into stores in Europe, then you may want to consider looking for a foreign rights agent and actually try to get your book sold into those markets. You may want to go to the Frankfurt Book Fair or to the Bologna Book Fair, which is rights and European bookstores, and make your contacts and find out things like that. Or you may look into advertising that is not trying to reach out directly, but would reach those. And there's lots of people who run ads on Google, on Facebook, on all these other places, on Amazon, that can target specific to languages, to people, to those specific things. But that's a big challenge if you don't already have connections in the German market. And you may want to start with simple things like finding moms in Germany who blog or review books or things like that, and kind of start by getting your foot in the door there. But that's a very complex marketing question. Well, your question is easy. Is there a list of emails? Probably not. What you can do is just start Googling bookstores in Germany and go to the major stores in each, Frankfurt and Dresden and all the places, Berlin and Munich, and see if you can start coming up with your own list of that. But I
Yeah.
don't, you know.
It's a big one. Okay, there was some comment here, and somebody asked us to address this as a question, and it's just want to. We might as well talk about it. Everybody's talking about AI. So right now they were talking about the budget, and I believe they're referring to when you said, people are trying to save their money, and how do they do this, and if you're going to do it yourself. And a person withdrew their manuscript from editing deal for cost and is having ChatGPT cut length and edit the book. And of course, this is happening. This is the interesting thing. I think this is my soapbox or whatever. People are now talking about AI as if it's something new. It's not new, folks. It's just been going on and it wasn't clear. ChatGPT got the viral woohoo big notification, but this stuff's been going on for a long time. But now that everyone is a little bit more aware of it, and we've taken the curtain and said, "Oh, look, you too can get behind here and create this." Chat GPT is learning. Artificial intelligence takes time and it will learn and it does get better. A perfect example was, 15 years ago, Google Translate. I love that one. When you would put something in, because I was dating my husband who's Swedish, and the translations were just crazy, right? And now speaking the language and everything, it's much interest. It's way more interesting to see what has happened. But I can confidently go in on any website page now and let Google translate it, and it's quite readable. In fact, it's extremely um, easy, and it feels almost human. Not always, but it feels quite well. So translation is a form of that. That's AI. But now, if I switch from English to Chinese, where you change the characters and everything, we're back to the same problems. It doesn't translate that easily. But just because these tools are there and available doesn't mean you shouldn't use them, but you should use them with caution. You should use tools that you confidently understand, and use them with caution. Taking away the human editor from the process is dangerous, because it still will not read the same. There will be situations where it will be corrected that are incorrectly done. So you need to be aware of that. You will not have the overall ability. And, yes, it can do the copy editing. That's all of these softwares and tools out there. They're using artificial intelligence. They're using the data to do that. The developmental editing, still going to take time, still going to go through that. And to hit the creativity, you're going to want to deal with a human. But in the end, I think what makes me confident here is humans want to connect with others. They've been writing this book. They want to know, is it any good? How can I make it better? They want to talk about their characters. They want to talk about the worlds. They want to talk about the conflict, the resolution, etc. So I don't think cutting to the chase is going to get you anything better. It may be out there, but I'll tell you, people will know. It's just creepy when you're reading bot language. I mean, at least you should see it. So, what could go wrong? A lot can go wrong. But the biggest thing that goes wrong is there will be errors, there will be weirdness there. And if your goal was to be published with to find an agent or something along that line, probably not going to happen. Not going to happen.
My
Any
experience with AI of ChatGPT in particular is that it creates more work in the long run, because now you have to go back. I'm
Yeah.
going to be very straightforward and say we use AI sometimes for crafting. What we're using right now, for example, is taking our podcast transcripts and throwing them through an AI tool that's pulling all the key elements and creating a blog post that we can use for. It works great for stuff like that, in terms of it can pull the key elements out, it can whip us up something. But even those, I have to spend a good 20 to 30 minutes editing, because usually the paragraphs are really long. There's a whole bunch of extra stuff. There's all kinds of extra words, passive voice, all this kind of stuff that isn't strong writing. It's okay writing for the average person to use and to read, but it's not strong writing. So that's how we're using it. In terms of using it to write a book, we're not there yet. Maybe one day there will be a point in time, but for fiction writers, who would want to even do that? The joy of writing a fiction book is writing the book, even if it's painful. But editing, I think, is lazy. This is just me being totally transparent here. I think it's at this point in time, because we're not talking about like what Joellen just said with the AI in terms of like ProWriting. It is a wonderful AI tool to help you identify the fact that you use the word sandwich 800 times in your book, or that you have too many repetitions, or those types of things. They work beautifully. But I don't know what level Kay is in the editing, or where they're at, or how they're using the tool. So it's hard to answer this, but I'd be really nervous if I was doing a developmental edit, or even a final proof or something like that, about somebody saying, well, I'm going to use GPT to finalize it, because again, I'm just reiterating what Joellen said here, but it may make huge cuts in things that it, as the artificial intelligence, doesn't think it's important. It may, pull things out that then make the transitions weird. So now you're going back and you're rereading everything and making sure that nothing was cut, nothing that a human doesn't do. A human is not going to remove, 7 pages because it doesn't, and I've never seen it from the editing side. So I'm just, I'm just guessing on how it would be used for editing. But it's a little, I think it's dangerous, and I think it's a little bit lazy. And I understand they're trying to cut costs, because that's the thing with editing. It is very time consuming. And there are many times, and I've seen this 100 times in the past, decade of working with books, as an editor will give us a quote, and then they come back and they say, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to revise this quote. I'm already 60 hours in and I'm only halfway through. And at that point in time, you decide what you're going to do. But to say, this is taking me too much time, I'm going to throw it through an AI tool, that's
no.
You're not paying them to do that.
No, and you can't. That's not, if you find somebody has done that, you should definitely make complaints and be public about that, because that's cheating. And you paid for their personal services. Absolutely. Yeah. No, it is a crazy world, but the tools are there. Choose them carefully. I've used AI for some stimulation on writing and that, but again, it's a lot of weird corrections. And sometimes, I mean, I think a headline is enough, just to give you a prompt. I think they're great for that. But beyond that, when you start using it, it's really weird. And Google, if you're using it for anything other than personal, if you're putting it on your website and things like that to generate traffic, it's going to be slammed. That's where it's headed. So it's really hard to deal with right now. But anyhow, so don't do it. That's our advice.
For self revisions, use the tools that we talk about, but yeah, be very wary of an editor who says, I'm going to be using Chat GPT. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not my editor. You're not
not at all.
And go to Joellen right away.
Come to us. We'll help you out. No problem. And we'll tell you what you need and what you don't need. So folks, it has been fantastic. We're at the 1 hour mark and I have enjoyed this. Alexa, thank you so much for coming for 4 times after and during your big, huge summit. And we appreciate you coming here. Everyone go check out her website at writepublishsell.com. You can also get the download on the book launch list there. And you mentioned on YouTube that at the top of her channel, go ahead and describe that for us.
Yeah. So we did a huge deep dive into book marketing, basically, in a webinar I run once a year called Smash Your Book Launch. So things to lead into all those types of things. If you go to YouTube and just go to youtube.com, write, publish, sell, like writing a book, write, publish, sell. You'll find us and our channel content. Subscribe to us. The Smash Your Book Launch is the first one up there. We are getting ready to launch our annual book launch program. So I have a discount coupon code in that webinar as well. And we hope to see you somewhere along the line.
It is very exciting. And folks, please subscribe, follow, and continue along with us here at First Editing. And we'll be back with more fantastic information to help you get started and help you succeed in your publishing career here. So thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you. I'm Joellen with firstediting.com, and we have Alexa from writepublishsell.com. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.